Fritzly was not having a good day. Between being harassed, beaten, and robbed by imperial guardsmen, and even a fish, I needed to find some place to lay low. So I found this unsuspecting cave not too far from the village.
Now you die!
This was not a great start. We tussled for many seconds by that roaring fire before finally a victor was decided. And it was me. I'll have to admit it was close. But then I took her key and her gold. I even healed up my throbbing scrapes and bruises before carrying on as only a tormented hero can. Someone called me a slur telepathically, and then the combat music began, signaling to me that the time to fight was upon me once more. What he didn't count on is me being a living magicka battery that absorbed 50% of all of his spells. Sweet justice. Ow. I was left flabbergasted and flummoxed by this elderly woman's ninjutsu skills, but it didn't stop me from retaliating with extreme prejudice. So I called upon my most powerful move, summoning somebody better at fighting than I to win my battles for me.
You will die!
A fate that seemed inevitable, until it wasn't. I had survived. No, more than that. I have lived. For the first time since this terrible vacation began, I have overcome the Cave of Challenges, and destroyed all the bandits that dwelled within it, instilling a newfound confidence inside of myself. And wait, was that drugs? Unlike the Dark Knight, I already knew where the other drugs were going, and that was into my pockets. All of them. I began a systematic hunt for all of the moon sugar and skooma that this place held. I'm not a skoomer myself, mind you, but I also have nothing against being a friendly neighborhood dope slinger, especially if it lends me some profit. This was a seriously risky maneuver. If any bit of that moon sugar got wet and absorbed into my pores, I could be in serious trouble. Luckily, I emerged no worse or better off than I always have been. There it is again. The familiar sound of anxiety, followed by a rat. This turned out to be a particularly agile rat. Finally, it is vanquished. After a long period of meandering, I eventually found myself back where I started. This whole cave seems to loop in on itself, and it confused me greatly for a few seconds. I eventually found my way up the stairs to a door that seemed to be concealing other like-minded individuals, running away from the long, corrupt arm of imperial law. I could relate, for I also came here seeking refuge. They asked me if it was okay for them to leave now. I had to tell them no. The guards were still on the prowl out there, and I did not want them getting hurt. So I shut their door back, in hopes of concealing their hiding place and ensuring their prolonged safety. Then I left. Back to sell my stuff. Turns out that I actually don't know how to market drugs to people, so I was turned away from the merchant. I had to drop my wet pulpy mass of pocket sugar onto the ground here so that I'd be allowed to shop. Don't worry, I'll be back for it later.
But not unwelcome. Please, go ahead.
Oh, you're too kind. Then I learned that he also didn't like me having skooma on my person, so once again, I was turned away from the shop and forced to empty out my supply.
Well, what have we here? Interesting.
After I ditched the drugs, he went back to being the only person in town that can tolerate my presence. I think the lesson here is to never show your open sack of drugs to your local grocer while trying to sell him the items that you stole from people you've killed. Cha-ching. Since he wouldn't buy the moon sugar from me directly, I tried to cheat the system by mixing it into a potion of water walking, which sadly failed. I did, however, successfully make a few potions that make you really tired and slowly kill you, though, so I got that going for me. Hey, look at that, it's the first mud crab we killed. Alas, I could not stay in town long, for my soul now yearned for adventure and the thrill of combat. I'm sure this ancestral tomb will be quite the nice place to get up to some skullduggery. I found a scroll that's supposed to make you brave. Sadly, I could not read it. I filled my pockets with some people powder before continuing on. The best thing you can bring to a ghost fight is another ghost. And this is about the point where I discovered that I'm terrible at destruction magic. I'm going to have to work on that. But what I'm not terrible at is dagger magic. What is this? Finally, some loot worthy of my stature. A scroll of hellfire, which I cannot read. I was being quite literally gatekept out of this room by this skeleton lightly jogging into the doorway. Why this door is push and not pull, I'll never know. I tried casting some more destruction magic, and I didn't succeed. I tried swinging my sword some more, in hopes that something had changed in the last few minutes. And then finally, I used my godlike powers of teleportation to get through to the other side of the door and kill this little glitchy skeleton. Finally, this is what we came here for. The treasure at the end. And being the magicka-absorbing boss that I am, the trap had no effect over me, and I was able to freely loot the key, some people pepper, and the Mentor's Ring, which fortifies our intellect and willpower, and will be a great boon to me henceforth. With one more dungeon under my belt, I'm well on my way to becoming the strongest Pizazzle this world has ever known. I briefly used this mud crab as bait for the Imperial Guardsmen so that I could sneak back into town. Why, you may ask? Simple. There's one thing that I need to do there before we leave, and that is to rub my new Mentor's Ring in Fargoth's face. I was on my way to where I believed to be Balmora when the sky gave birth to this man dressed as a clown. I ran over to check for a pulse and loot. There was none of the former, but plenty of the latter. As soon as I took everything he had, however, I was ambushed. And immediately given rust cankers by a foul-winged mammal. Sensing death on the horizon, I summoned my ghost. It sat there and watched as I got the shit kicked out of me. In my hurry to run away from the bat, I used one of the scrolls that I picked up from the Sky Clown. It bestowed upon me the glutes of Achilles, allowing me to leap incredible distances. Unfortunately, it also gave me his weak-ass ankles. Seeing no other alternative to flee from this bat that was still in hot pursuit, I decided to run away on a silt strider to Balmora. Just get there by paying a few coins instead of running through this hellhole. Ah, Balmora. Finally. It took me a while to get here, but my struggles till this point have been nothing to sneeze at.